지난 2011년 미국에서 방영됐었던 다큐멘터리의 한 장면입니다. 각계 전문가들이 나와서 한국은 앞으로 아시아 그 어떤 나라보다 눈부시게 발전할 수 있는 잠재력을 가지고 있다는 분석을 내놓았는데요. 한 전문가는 한국의 이 특징 때문에 한국이 중국과 일본을 넘어설 나라가 될 것이라 장담했다고 합니다. 그로부터 13년이 지난 오늘날 대한민국은 전문가들의 예측이 맞았다고 자신할 수 있는 나라가 되었을까요? 과연 전문가들이 예상했었던 대한민국의 미래는 무엇이었고 지금의 대한민국이 그 기대에 걸맞는 나라가 되었는지 함께 살펴보도록 하겠습니다.
In the last 100 years, South Korea has been invaded, subjugated, and divided. But within 2 generations, it's brought about an economic miracle that's changed the face of the nation and put this country of nearly 50 million people onto the world stage. Sitting at the end of a peninsula, South Korea is the size of Kentucky, with Japan to its east and China above North Korea. In less than 6 decades, South Korea has risen like a phoenix from the ashes to become an economic powerhouse with ambitions to match. On the international stage, it's hosted an Olympic Games, co-hosted the World Cup, and in 2010, it became the first Asian nation to host a G20 summit.
South Korea is a country that was raised by war, and that total destruction of the war has given it a lot of the impetus for building from scratch. So when we look at many of the industries, people were willing to take very bold decisions because essentially they had nothing to lose. Korea became a master of the copycat technology, but that doesn't mean that it isn't innovative. It becomes very powerful at using its control of management, of costs, of production systems to be a very powerful, what it calls fast follower.
The speed of South Korea's catch-up in the 1980s was meteoric. It became one of the tiger economies of Asia and a magnet for money. Investment in the economy was huge, both from abroad and at home. But by the late 1990s, the relationship between the banks, the chaebols, and the government created an investment bubble. In 1997, that bubble burst, and South Korea was bankrupt.
1997년 갑작스럽게 찾아온 IMF 외환위기는 대한민국이 지난 수십 년 동안 일궈놓은 모든 것을 한순간에 앗아가 버렸습니다. IMF로 대한민국은 아시아의 새로운 용에서 수백억 달러의 빚을 진 채무국가로 전락해버렸죠. 모두가 대한민국은 끝났다고 말하던 그때 우리 국민들은 전쟁도 이겨냈었던 저력으로 다시 한번 세계를 놀라게 만들었습니다.
The Asian financial crisis of the late 90s was very tough on Korea. About 20% of the large conglomerates failed. Many of the others were in tough financial condition.
South Korea needed a $58 billion bailout. The International Monetary Fund stepped in, but wanted to change the cronyism that had helped create the crisis. South Korea had survived occupation and war to become one of the world's leading trading nations. Could they do it all over again?
1997년 한국을 덮친 IMF로 한국 전쟁 이후 일궈놓은 모든 것들이 폭삭 무너져 내리던 그때 모두가 재기에 실패할 것이라 했지만 그 예상을 뒤엎고 한국은 또 한 번 기적을 이루어냈죠. 과연 불가능은 없는 나라입니다. 어떻게 이것이 가능했을까요? 전문가들은 한국인들만이 가진 저력이 있다고 설명합니다.
Save their country's failing currency. 3.5 million Koreans donated jewelry and 227 tons of gold, which drove the global price of gold down to an 18-year low, but helped raise more than $1 billion and demonstrated how determined the whole country was to rebuild its fortunes.
There is a sort of esprit de corps, I have to say, and there is a very strong Korean national identity. This country has come so far so fast. It has to do with the separation of other Koreans on the peninsula. And it has to do with the sort of yearning to create a greater Korea, a greater presence on the world stage. So I think that's the driving force.
South Korea's hunger to succeed enabled it to pay back its IMF loan 3 years early. And by 2004, it had joined the $1 trillion club of world economies.
One of the impressive things about South Korean industry is its ability to forge new markets very quickly. and particularly their rivals sometimes are a bit fearful to go.
In 2009, Samsung's profits were double Japan's 9 major consumer and industrial electronics companies combined. In 2010, Samsung posted record sales, putting them ahead of Hewlett-Packard and Siemens.
Now the push is more gravitating towards Vietnam and Indonesia. These are again tough markets, and the Korean background, coming from a nation raised by war, has created very bold leaders who like the idea of slightly tough, hard to work in environments, and they're more willing to go there than, say, Japanese companies that can be more wary. If an American company opens a shoe factory in Indonesia, the Koreans will move there within months to build up a shoe factory to compete with it. In other areas, they are just being bold. At the moment, they're even looking at real frontier markets like Cambodia. So they're looking to build the first really big international airport in Cambodia, real estate, leisure there. They're outstripping the Chinese at the moment in the amount that they're investing into Cambodia. They're the biggest expatriate community in Indonesia. So they're really on the march in these kind of frontier markets.
2000년대 중진국의 함정에 빠져 침체된 다른 나라들과 다르게 한국만이 계속해서 발전할 수 있었던 이유는 실패를 두려워하지 않고 계속 새로운 것을 시도하는 도전 정신에 있었습니다. 한때 첨단 기술로 세계를 선도하는 위치에 있었던 일본이 잃어버린 30년을 겪고 첨단 IT 산업에선 설 자리가 없어진 것도 도전 정신을 잃어버렸기 때문이죠. 그러나 대한민국은 경제 강국의 반열에 올라선 뒤에도 더욱 높은 목표를 바라보며 도전을 멈추지 않아 왔습니다. 그리고 대한민국이 진정한 선진국의 반열에 오르기 위해 새롭게 도전장을 내민 분야가 바로 소프트 파워였습니다.
2009, South Korea was the world's 9th largest exporter. In display panels, memory chips, and shipbuilding, they ranked number 1. In mobile phones, 2nd. Cars, 5th. Petrochemicals, steel, and textiles were all in the top 10. But there are new global markets in South Korea's sights, the so-called soft power service industries. These are not factory but city-based, and they need highly educated individuals to create new wealth.
We look at Korea today, it is emerging at such a pace that it's almost blindsiding some people right now, because all eyes are on China. Eyes have sort of been on Japan, but certainly we've seen this China focus. But if you talk to luxury goods companies, if you talk to retailers, if you talk to even small trouser manufacturers in Italy, just focusing on the consumer side, they say the most magical part of the world right now is South Korea. Look at the 3 main department store brands. These are not global household names yet, but you've got Shinsegae, you've got Lotte, you've got Hyundai. 3 stores which rival pretty much anything in Tokyo. They beat the pants off of anything in Hong Kong, and you can pretty much write off North America, Australia, and Europe. In a very short span of time, our bathroom cupboards or women's cosmetics bags are going to be full of Korean brands that are already billion-dollar companies in their own right. They just haven't gone beyond the borders of that nation yet, but they're on their way.
Can South Korea Inc. become a world beater here as well?
자신 있게 예스라고 답할 수 있을 것 같습니다. 몇 년 전만 해도 외국에서 대한민국을 보고 떠올리는 것은 삼성이었습니다. 세계로 수출되는 삼성의 전자제품들을 보며 한국을 처음 알게 되었기 때문이죠. 하지만 오늘날 대한민국 하면 각종 드라마와 예능, K-팝 웹툰 등 다양한 한국 문화 콘텐츠들이 먼저 떠오르게 되었습니다. 단 10년 만에 미국과 일본, 유럽과 견줄 만한 소프트 파워 강국으로 재탄생하게 된 것이죠. 이는 대한민국이 발전할 거라 믿었던 전문가들도 예측하지 못한 폭발적인 성장이었습니다.
It has myriad assets, from hot springs, of course, Korean cuisine. There's great shopping, there's amazing service. It has all of these things, but it hasn't been able to bundle together all of these raw assets into a strong, compelling national brand.
The Korean wave is a cultural phenomenon, and in the global soft power stakes, it's been called the country's biggest weapon.
When you look at raw soft power, those assets that can't be bought but are instantly loved and embraced by people around the world, have become the acceptable, loved face of Asia. So the Koreans have understood how to export those things in spades. The Koreans have become the acceptable, loved face of Asia. If you are in Malaysia, you happen to love these Korean pop groups. If you're in Japan, you love those dramas. And if you're in Thailand, you like those actors and actresses.
Another reason South Korea is so globally in tune is that the country is a trailblazer for high-speed internet. 81% of the population are wired to broadband. Seoul calls itself the most wired city on Earth, and even in the subway there is connectivity. And this new digital world is changing some traditional Korean aspirations. And young people are attracted to their different way of working, who worked long hours to raise their country into an economic powerhouse. And soft power is accelerating the speed of that change.
I think over the next decade, we're certainly going to see more and more spheres of life where the Koreans are giving leadership, ideas and creative thinking, fields where we haven't even seen them before.
After 60 years of near relentless growth, does South Korea feel it has achieved its goal? And is there more to come?
The only distinction, I think, is that the Koreans may be still a bit more hungry than the wealthier European countries or North American countries.
Everything points to a vibrant country that has married the best of both Western and Asian culture in a free market economy, and it could well make South Korea the nation to watch.
다큐멘터리가 방영되고 13년이 지난 오늘날 대한민국은 전문가들이 예측했던 것 이상으로 눈부신 발전을 거듭하며 세계의 중심으로 떠올랐습니다. 그때만 하더라도 아시아에 주목받는 신흥국이었던 한국은 이제 유럽 국가들과 어깨를 나란히 하며 세계를 이끌어가는 리더 국가로 활약하고 있죠. 이제는 만족할 때도 된 것 같은데 대한민국은 아직도 배고프다 말하고 있습니다. 지난 10년 동안 세계를 놀라게 만든 대한민국이 다음 10년 동안 또 얼마나 놀라운 발전을 이루어낼 수 있을지 기대하지 않을 수 없습니다. 끝까지 시청해주셔서 감사합니다. 도움이 되셨다면 좋아요를, 다른 이야기도 궁금하시면 구독을 눌러주세요.